Good morning, everybody. This is a reading lesson, so come in if you'd like to read a little bit. It's Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is literature, so it's a little tricky, some quite new words here and there, but it's good practice and you can learn some vocabulary. As I said yesterday, a lot of the vocabulary is still in use today, but you know, literature is a little bit flowery and rich, so it's interesting to read. And the story is about the monster dog on the moors of Dartmoor, the Hounds of the Baskervilles. So I've posted the link. So far, the story goes something like this. They go out to the moors later, so Sherlock hasn't even arrived on the scene yet, but we know that there's this nasty man there called Hugo Baskerville way back in the past, and he captured a woman and took her into his mansion building, but she managed to escape and run home again to her farm on the moors where she was renting, or her father was renting a farm from the manor. Well, something happened to Hugo Baskerville as he chased across the moor with his horses and hounds. They came across the monster, devilish dog on the moor, the Hound of the Baskervilles. And now we're just about to read what happens next. So I'm going to share the screen here. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Hi there, hello. I don't know if you were here for the story so far, but it doesn't matter. Have you heard of this story?
Actually, no. This is my first time.
It's quite a well-known story. It's about a detective called Sherlock Holmes. Do you know Sherlock Holmes?
Yes, I've watched a TV series.
This is one of the best known of his stories, and it's called The Hound of the Baskervilles. So we've been reading it, and if you'd like to catch up sometime, you can listen to it, because the link I sent there has the reading. If you load the link. Actually, it's probably a good idea if you can load that link now. Can you load that link and see if you can read the text?
I've already did.
Yes, that's good. Good. So maybe you ought to know what's been going on in the story. So were you listening to me just now speaking about the story?
No, I didn't.
Well, tell me what you've heard about it.
About this story?
Yes. Do you know anything about it?
Well, actually, no. I have no idea about this story.
Well, I think all we know so far is that there's a big dog on the moor called the Hound of the Baskervilles, and I think that Hugo Baskerville, the man who was a little bit of an evil man, was probably killed by this hound we're just about to see as he was chasing a girl across the moor. Do you know what a moor is?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't know this one.
It's a place, dark, hilly, very remote. No people live there except just a few houses. But most of the moor is wild and not farmed at all. It's a dangerous place to walk at night because there are lots of little dips and tricky bits. Rocky, it's very rocky, and there's water up there, and even some bogs. Do you know this word, a bog? A bog is a kind of soft ground, a place where the ground is very soft.
Oh, okay.
So actually, in one place, they can sink into the ground. So, where are you from, Selma?
I am Algeria.
I think I spoke to you before, didn't I, in another lesson?
Yes.
Yes, I did. I remember you saying, I don't know exactly where you're from in Algeria, but I remember you speaking to me once, maybe a week or two ago.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Do you come to verbaling lessons quite a lot?
These days, no, but before, yes.
Well, it's good to have you here. You know, the main problem with this is the vocabulary. There's going to be quite a lot of new words. And sometimes I mention that those words are a little bit old-fashioned, but most of them are not. So I'm looking at paragraph 7 now. If you look at those words which are highlighted, just go through them. Are there any that you know?
I know sober, guess, boldest, advanced, started, clearing, fatigue, great, beast, larger, plucking, and throat. But
So you do know most of the words. Plucking, you know?
Yes, I know.
We don't usually use it for monsters at people's throats, but where would we more commonly use the word plucking? There's one particular situation where I always imagine this word, because when I was a boy, I think I heard this word in a particular situation related to chickens. What do you think that might be? Plucking. You know, that when you take feathers out of a bird. But also, there's probably even a more common way of using this. The most common way of using this might be another. But I always think about plucking the feathers out of a chicken. But there's another one which is often used. Where do we use this word plucking? I've heard it being used in gardening and flowers. So sometimes we pick a flower, but sometimes plucking is used to pull out something. And it's often used with feathers.
And we also used with the eyebrow to pluck.
Oh yes, that's true as well. Yeah, I think I'm just going to write these 3 down because I want to edit these pages and add a few questions. So plucking, we've got eyebrows. That's a good one.
Eyebrows. Yes.
What do you use when you pluck your eyebrows? I mean, probably I don't particularly do that, but if you were to do that, what is the name of the little tool that you use, the little gadget which is made of metal?
Actually, I don't know its name in English.
In English, it's called a pair of, because, you know, in English we always have a pair of these, like a pair of scissors and a pair of pliers, and this one is a pair of tweezers. See if you can find it. Wow, you're very noisy. Well, you're very noisy there. Have you got the TV on behind you or something? Hello? Very, very noisy. I can hear a radio or something. You can't come to class with the radio on, I'm afraid. It's too noisy. Can you do something like maybe turn the radio off, or you'll have to stay muted, I think, and listen. But you can't really come to class with a big noise behind you because we have to listen and read. Sorry, it's too noisy, sorry. Selma, let's read paragraph 7, eh? Let's try and read it.
Okay.
So, shall I ask you to just take the plunge and have a go at paragraph 7?
Okay, teacher. The company had come to a halt, more sober men, as you may guess, than when they started. The most of them would by no means advance, but 3 of them, the boldest, or it may be the most drunken, rode forward down the goyle. Now it opened into a broad space, in which stood 2 of those great stones, still to be seen there, which were set by certain forgotten people in the days of old. The moon was shining bright upon the clearing, and there in the centre lay the unhappy maid, where she had fallen, dead of fear and of fatigue. But it was not the sight of her body, nor yet was it that of the body of Hugo Baskerville.
Baskerville is his name, yes.
Yes, Baskerville lay near her, which raised the hair upon the head of these 3 devil oysters. But it was that, standing over Hugo, and plucking at his throat, there stood a foul thing, a great black beast, shaped like a hound, yet larger than any hound that ever mortal eyes has rested upon.
Yeah, thank you. Very well read, very nicely read. The company. So, looking at that first sentence, the company had come to a halt, more sober men, as you may guess, than when they started. So, what do you think has sobered them up a bit? Because they actually went to a kind of drunken debauch party. They were doing all kinds of singing and shouting earlier in a party. So why do you think that they're sobered up a bit? What sort of things? You said, yes. You know the word sober, don't you? Sober up.
The opposite of drunk.
Yes. So actually, if you have been, well, it's not really the opposite of drunk because, well, it can be, can't it? Yeah, you're right. It's the opposite of drunk. So in this, though, they're more sober than they were before. So really, they're probably drunk. I mean, they have been drinking, but suddenly something happens and sobers them up a bit. So, you know, you can take a coffee, can't you, or something to stimulate you, and that sobers you up. Really, you still have alcohol in your body, but you feel sobered in a way. It's a sobering experience. You know, something shocks you and it sobers you. So something has happened. What has happened to sober them up?
Because the company had come to a halt.
Well, it's to do with the big dog, the hound, the devilish hound, because the hound, you weren't here in the last chapter, but we were reading about the hound chasing them, and they've come across the hound. So later you can see standing over Hugo and plucking at his throat, there stood a foul thing, a great black beast shaped like a hound. So this is what you might call a sobering experience. I don't know if you ever drink, but I mean, I don't like to get drunk, but I imagine that if you come across something very scary, suddenly your mind focuses. I remember once I was just in an ordinary frame of mind, and I heard a bullet whistling through the leaves of the trees, like that, and I can tell you, it kind of sobers you up a minute. It makes you concentrate. So I think if you see a great, scary hound from hell, you're going to suddenly wake up and sober up. So they were shocked, really. And so let's go on. Before we go on, though, we'll do the normal. What we have to do now is choose one of the words from the paragraph and then describe it and see if... Oh, let's say hello to Conrad, first of all. Conrad, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, teacher.
Hi there. Great to have you. I don't know if you know the book of the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Okay.
We're not too far into it, actually. They've just... All that's happened is that the bad Hugo has been killed by the dog. And this is way back in time. The main story is later. So this is setting the legend of the big dog, the hound. So now I'd like Selma to describe one of those words, and if possible, Conrad, try to guess the word that Selma is describing. So Selma, try that, please. Find a word from paragraph 7, without telling us, of course.
Okay. The word is an adjective, and we always get dots when we come back from home. When we work very hard, we always get dots.
So Conrad, I'm looking for a word. I can't see tired. I was thinking of tired, but I'm looking around to see if there's another word when we get home from work. Can you see the word, Conrad?
Yeah.
So what word would you think it would be? Which word is Selma speaking about?
Boldest?
I don't think she is. I think she's speaking... She said you feel it when you get home from work. Bold is about bravery,
Yeah.
and so I don't think most people feel particularly brave when they get home from work. But I think that it might be related to just a feeling of being a bit worn out and tired after a hard day at work. Is that right, Selma?
Yes, especially when you have a busy day.
Yeah, so hard work and a busy day, and then you come home, you put your feet up. What's the word, the adjective to describe this? Actually, it's probably a noun in the paragraph here, because the adjective would be with a participle adjective. Well, I will tell you that I think it's fatigue. Fatigue.
Oh,
Yes.
fatigue.
Fatigue
Yes,
is tiring. Fatigue.
You're tired. It's so similar to say, for example, I am burned out.
Well, burnt out is a little bit different. You know, I had a lesson a while ago about run down, worn out, burnt out. So, you know, they're quite different, I think. Run down, worn out, and burnt out, or burned out, because you can say burnt or burned. Those adjectives are a little different to each other. Which of those, by the way, would you choose to be the least long term, the one that's just go to bed, have a little rest, and you feel good? So I've posted 3 there: run down, worn out, or burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Which of those do you think means quite very tired, but you go to bed early, you'll be fine the next day?
One out.
Yes, worn out is that one, yes. And can you see what run down and burnt out might mean? How they might be different to being worn out?
Yeah. I could.
If you're run down, you may need to take some days off. Your health might be in jeopardy. You might have to be careful with your health because you've just been doing too much recently.
A little vacations.
Yeah, and if you're burnt out, you probably have had enough of that. So sometimes if you have a high pressure job, you get hyped up a bit at the start,
uh,
you get into it, but then later you really nervously you just become fed up with it. You just can't cope anymore, and you'll never be the same.
For example, burnout means one day or means a long time.
Well, it's more of a long-term thing because I've heard this used on the stock market floors. You know, when people say they go there, it's too stressful. There's too much money at the back of your mind, and you're dealing, and you get worried about mistakes and things. And for a few years, you can handle it. You can handle high pressure for a few years, but eventually it catches up with you. And when it catches up with you, it's a kind of long-term feeling that you really don't want to be doing that again.
Yeah.
I had something like that when I was working in London, stuck in the traffic for hours and hours every day, then going to a high-pressure job, and then after a few years you think, what's this all about? Why do this? And then after you get to that point, you feel you don't really want to do it ever again.
Okay.
So yeah. So okay. So we've got paragraph 7 there, and so Conrad, I'll move the screen down, and you can go on to paragraph 8.
Okay.
And 9 you can do, actually. They're both short, so you can read 8 and 9.
Okay. Paragraph 8. And even as they looked, things tore the throat out of Hugo Baskerville, and which as in turn into blasting eyes and dripping jaws upon them. The three
Shrieked. You know this word? It's like, ah!
Oh, it's scary.
Yeah, making a noise like a shriek.
The three shrieked with fear and rode for their life, shrilly screaming across the moor. One, it says, died that very night of what he had seen, and the other twain were but broken men for the rest of their days.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that word twain is doing there, but and the other twain were but broken men for the rest of their days. So they were really destroyed by this whole experience. It was so bad, and one of them actually died of fright. I've never heard of anyone dying of fright, but I think it can happen. I think you can have a heart attack. Some animals, I think, can have this sometimes too. Okay, so...
Pardon, Ryan? A trike is always say a shooting or you are scary for a long time. Is that the first impression or more?
Which word?
Trike.
Shriek?
Shriek. Oh, yeah.
Shriek. Shriek is just a noise that you make.
It's no more than the noise.
Yes, shrieked with fear. So they had a lot of fear. They just screamed and make a noise. So screaming and shrieking is a very similar kind of sound that people make when shriek. So it is really a noise.
Yeah. And
so they shrieked with fear. Because they were scared, they made a big noise, shrieking with fear.
And what's the meaning of dripping jaws?
Well, do you know what a jaw is? Because we read about something, and we were reading about the circus and the incredible acts, and one word was jaw-dropping. You know, we're very amazed, and we go, oh! And our mouth, the bottom of our mouth, the chin part, is called the jaw. All of this not part of your skull, and that is your jaw. There's a film about a shark called Jaws.
I'm surprised.
Dripping jaws. Well,
you opened your mouth.
Well, I'm speaking about the word jaw, because the jaw is the bottom part of your mouth. It's the whole part of the bone which can drop, because in your head you have two bones, one on the skull, the main skull, but the second bone is detached from the skull, and it's at the bottom of your mouth, and that is your jaw. The jaw opens
Yeah.
So dripping is some liquid dropping, like
Yeah, I can understand. It's as a full impression about one things. Yeah.
so. The hound, the big hound, was dripping jaws. So the blood of Hugo Baskerville, because he was tearing at his throat. So it's a bit of a horror story, really. He's pulling. He's killed him. He's on the ground, and he's just standing above him, over him, as he lies down on the ground. And they see this. So, okay, let's read paragraph 9 as well, because that's really just a very short sentence.
Okay. Since the tragedy, Mr. Holmes, there have come to my ears, several incidents which are hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature.
Yes, let's try and get this one sentence with good pronunciation. So, several and incidents. So, yes, several. No, not too much several, but several, like that. Several incidents which are hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature.
Okay.
There's a word which is used to describe these kind of things. There's one word which is often used to describe these things which are hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature. That means, do you understand hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature?
Yeah.
So one word can describe it. Can you give me one word which describes things which are hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature?
Harmony?
Well, harmony sounds like a great thing. You know, harmony is a really positive thing, very warm and nice. We feel like we're together in harmony, in perfect harmony. That's a lovely, warm feeling. But if something is hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature, it's really against nature, because it's hard to reconcile. So it's against nature. So what word is used in books and films and other things to describe these things which are really hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature? They seem to be from another domain. They're not really anything to do with nature.
I don't know.
Well, do you have any idea about that, Selma? Do you know a word which might describe that? So I could say several incidents which were, and then one word.
Placebo.
Say it again, I couldn't quite catch it.
Placebo.
Can you write it for me? Placebo, I heard something. Placebo. That's not the word I'm thinking of. I was thinking of another word. Begins with super.
Supernatural.
Yeah, supernatural. I was thinking of this word, supernatural. It's a supernatural experience. It's something which doesn't seem natural. It's really weird or very strange, totally strange. So now we're going to move on to the next chapter. So chapter 3. So paragraph 1 is quite short. Since the tragedy, Mr. Holmes, there have come to my ears several incidents which are hard to reconcile with the settled order of nature. So we're continuing on. So that's actually just a tie-over from the last one. Sound is not to be read. That's just a mistake, actually. That's supposed to be the sound player, so I'll fix that later. So where you see sound, please ignore it. And let me speak to the... I see somebody new in the room. Xuan, are you there? Huang Xuan? Claudius, Conrad, you're there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there. Conrad, you didn't do any... You haven't done any word describing yet, so maybe you could please read this paragraph 2 as well, and then we'll try to describe some of these words, because this paragraph has quite a lot of words in it. So can I have Conrad for paragraph 2 now, please?
Okay. I find that before that terrible events occurred, several people had seen a creature upon
a
the
creature,
a creature upon the moor, which corresponds with the Baskervilles demon, and which could not possibly be any animals known to science. They all agreed that it was a huge creature, luminous, ghastly, and spectral. I have cross-examined this man, one of them hard-headed countrymen, one a farrier, and one of a moorland farmer, who all tell the same story on his dreadful apparition, exactly corresponding to the hound of the legend. I assure you that there is a reign of terror in the district, and it is a hardy man who will cross the moor at night.
Cross, yes. And when you say the word one, let's try to get it a bit more R sound. One. Yeah. Okay. So now that's an interesting paragraph. It's just saying about the scary monster on the moor, and you know, you would be foolish to cross it at night, or a hardy man is needed to cross the moor at night. Okay. The words.
I have some question.
Okay, for questions first, and then we'll describe one of the words. So, what's your question?
Okay. How? Ghastly?
Ghastly.
Ghastly.
Awful, ghastly, ugh, terrible. Ghastly is a kind of negative adjective. Ghastly. So, luminous, we know, that's light, shining in the darkness somehow. And an apparition is something which just appears like a ghost from nowhere, just suddenly appears. So choose one word from this paragraph and start describing it to us, and we'll guess which word you're talking about.
A dreadful apparition?
A dreadful apparition. Well, but when you do your word describing, I want you to choose one without telling us, and then just speak about it, and we guess what it is. So try to find a word that you know a bit about, you understand a bit, and then speak about it. Describe it for us, but don't actually tell us the word. So don't say that it's the dreadful apparition. So choose another, please. Choose another word from paragraph 2. And this time don't tell us.
Oh, okay. I could explain the word.
Yes, explain the word, and then we will ask you if it is this word or that word.
Oh, okay.
Have you found one?
Yeah. The verbs, the paragraph all refers a place where it is ghastly creature with into the moorland farmer.
So you're describing a word which is a place.
Yeah, it's a place. Well, when the guy is very scared about the apparition, he don't know what is the the nature of the can fact, the fact.
Is it a noun? Are you just describing a noun word?
Yeah.
So it's a place, it's a noun word, and it's not the moor because you mentioned the moor. Is it the moor?
No.
No, because you mentioned the moor, so it's something you haven't mentioned.
District?
District? Oh yes, district. I see there near the end. Is it district?
No.
What other places are there? I don't see many places. So, there's moorland, but
Moreland. Yeah, Moreland.
moorland. Okay, Okay, when we play taboo, and one of the rules is that you mustn't say any of the words. So if moorland is the word, then you're not allowed to say land or moor. You have to say some other words. But anyway, we'll try again another time on the next chapter you do. So Selma, can you go on to paragraph 3?
Okay. Sound, Holmes shrugged his shoulders.
Shoulders, that's old. Shoulders, like shoulders, not shoulders, but shoulders. Do you know what this means? If you shrug your shoulders, what are you doing if you shrug your shoulders? We had a lesson about body communication
Yes.
a while ago. So you know shrugging your shoulders.
You show that you don't care.
Or yes, sometimes you don't know or don't understand, or you give up, or yes, shrugging your shoulders. So read on.
His shoulders. I have hitherto confined my investigations to this world, said he. In a modest way, I have combated evil, but to take on the father of evil himself would perhaps be too ambitious a task. Yet you must admit that the footmark is material.
So what are they saying there? What's Holmes saying? Can you sum up? Can you summarise this feeling that Sherlock Holmes is communicating to us? I have hitherto confined my investigations to this world, he said. In a modest way, I have combated evil, but to take on the father of evil himself would perhaps be too ambitious a task. Yet you must admit that the footmark is material. So, what's Holmes thinking there? He's thinking about the devil. Maybe that this is going to be too really supernatural.
Yeah.
But does he believe in it or not? Maybe already he starts to suspect there's some kind of human intervention here, and it's not entirely supernatural. He's a calculating kind of person, but I think he's even a little bit unsure of the whole situation. You must admit that the footmark is material. So he's starting to see that the footmark is real. The mark of the dog left on the ground is real, so it's probably a real dog or a real beast. So perhaps he will take on the case. Shan, are you on the mic there? Huang Shan? Hello? Don't see him on the mic there, so back to you then. But first of all, Selma, try to find a nice word there. So there's not too many words. Choose one word and describe it, and we'll guess it.
When we walk in the desert, we always leave traces.
Yeah, and usually this word is another word for this. We don't usually use the word that's in the text here. We use another ending to the word. which is something to do with making books. But here they've used a slightly unusual word. What's the word, Conrad? A trace of something, of a person walking through the forest or the desert.
Ambitious?
Somebody walks through probably in the desert. That you'd have to probably follow them quite soon, because otherwise the trace is gone. But it depends on the wind. But if you follow somebody, you can find where they have been by the trace they have left in the ground. What is the name of the trace that people leave in the ground? You could say there's no trace of him, but you can say, ah, yes, I can see he was walking here. Look at the ground and you can see his...
Zombies?
I'm going for footprint, but here it's footmark. But we usually speak about footprints. Is that the right word, Selma? Footprint?
Yes, teacher. I thought
Yeah.
it was the same.
Yeah, I don't see footmark so much, but mark and print and footmarks. Footmarks, you hear it sometimes, but quite often you have footprints and fingerprints rather than finger marks. But both of them are used. So it seems like Schwein is not here. So Conrad, you're back on with paragraph 4, please.
Okay.
Don't read
I knew.
sound because that's just the sound player
Yeah.
there.
I knew the seclusion and solicitude were very necessary
Solitude,
for...
not solicitude. That sounds a bit like some street girls. Solitude.
Okay. The seclusion and the solitude were very necessary for my friends in those hours of intense mental
Yeah, this word
concentration.
hours is one of those.
Hours?
You have to be careful with your her sounding words, because there are some which don't have a her and some that do. So this one does, so you have to doesn't. This one doesn't, so you say in those hours of
Those hours, in those hours of intense mental concentration, during which he weighed every particle of evidence, constructed alternative theories, balanced once against the other, and made up his mind as to which points were essential and which immaterial. I therefore spent the day at my club and did not return to Baker Street until evening. It was nearly 9 o'clock when I found myself in the sitting room once more.
That's great reading. That was very good. So I'll read it through once more, and then I would like you to choose one of the words and think about how you can describe that word to Selma, and we'll guess it. So, I knew that seclusion and solitude were very necessary for my friend in those hours of intense mental concentration, during which he weighed every particle of evidence, constructed alternative theories, balanced one against the other, and made up his mind as to which points were essential and which immaterial. I therefore spent the day at my club and did not return to Baker Street until evening. It was nearly 9 o'clock when I found myself in the sitting room once more. So, one word from you then, please, Conrad. Choose a word and describe it to us.
It's the way that Mr. Holmes,
it's the way he...
Yeah, it's waking to stay after to know the evidence and to... Evidence and measure up what are the the pros and the cons, the situation, and then the immaterial succession and the immaterial fact. And then he stay in the sitting room and thinking in the fact.
Okay, so are you speaking about the way he needs to do this, or how he does it, or the? So Sherlock Holmes needs this kind of environment, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the top then, at the beginning of this paragraph, and it speaks about the conditions that he requires, the conditions he needs to concentrate.
Yeah.
So seclusion or solitude. Solitude means he needs to be alone. Seclusion is really being alone as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Secluded, and solitude is a noun, seclusion is a noun. Is there any difference between these two words?
Yeah.
Can you see any difference between them? Seclusion, solitude, because they are close.
Seclusion is to be alone, apart from far away the world.
Yeah, so we have sometimes quite a few words which have a similar meaning. Seclusion, solitude, isolation.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, well done. Let's just go on now then. So Selma with paragraph 5.
Sound. My first impression as I opened the door was that a fire had broken out, for the room was so filled with smoke that the light of the lamp upon the table was blurred by it. As I entered, however, my fears were set at rest, for it was the acrid fumes of strong coarse tobacco, which took me by the throat and set me coughing. Through the haze I had a vague vision.
A vague vision. A vague vision.
I had a vague vision of Holmes in his dressing gown, coiled up in an armchair, with his black clay pipe between his lips. Several rolls of paper lay around him. Sound.
Yes, don't read sound. That's a mistake, because that's a missing image for sound player, and it's just showing that word. So I'll put that in later so that you can listen to the reading. I'll fix it later, and then you can come back and play through chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and hopefully look at the rest of the book and then try to learn some more vocabulary. So let's...
Teacher,
yes?
I don't understand two words. Blurred.
Blurred.
And dressing gown coiled up.
Okay, blurred first of all. Blurred, sometimes if you wake up in the morning and your eyes are not really ready and you have some something in your eye and you need to clean your eyes out a bit, you wake up and you can have a blurred vision. You can't quite see quite well. So things are blurred. Perhaps also if something moves past you very fast. So a car or somebody goes past you at tremendous speed. You can't see them because they were a blur. Woof, like this. Just a rough image of them, but you couldn't really focus on it exactly. So that's the blur. And what was the other word?
That in that case means that it's no focusing, or losing the attention,
Well,
for instance.
The blur here is caused by the cigar smoke. So at first, my first impression as I opened the door was that a fire had broken out, for the room was so filled with smoke that the light of the lamp upon the table was blurred by it. As I entered, however, my fears were set at rest, for it was the acrid fumes of coarse tobacco smoke which took me by the throat and set me coughing. Through the haze I had a vague vision of Holmes in his dressing gown, coiled up in an armchair with his black clay pipe between his lips. Several rolls of paper lay around him. So you see, Sherlock Holmes was sitting there with his pipe and his pipe, not a cigar, but a pipe, smoking, thinking about all these things, writing on bits of paper. And he couldn't see him properly because the whole room was filled with smoke. And what was the other word?
The other word is dressing gown coiled up.
Dressing gown is something you wear when you take off your day clothes and you're ready to go to bed, but before you actually get in bed, you put a gown over you. A gown is something usually worn over your pajamas, so you wear your night clothes, and then you might put a soft gown, a kind of cape over you, something that you wear over your body to keep you warm. And if you have a shower and you come out of the shower and you have no clothes because you've just come out of the shower, then you might put your dressing gown on.
Dressing gown. And coiled up?
Coiled is like a spring. So a cobra or a rattlesnake can be coiled. You know, they're not stretched out in one big long piece, but he's not. His body is not sitting up straight in the chair, but he's hunched back and curled up, so like a circle or like a spring. So his body is all tied together down, and his head is down on the desk and his body's bent over. So a coil is like a spring or a snake when it's sitting in that position with its body going round and round.
Okay.
Okay, so that was Selma's reading. So Selma, can you find any word? It doesn't have to be one of the black words. It can be any word.
Teacher, I cannot see your screen share.
Okay, let me try and do it again. Then I'll stop it right now, and then.
No, teacher. It was. I was talking about the taboo word.
Oh, you were describing it.
Yes, I was.
Right, just a moment. Let me get it back for you there. Then, so. All right, so there it is.
Yes, teacher, I cannot see your screen share because it is
too small.
No.
Let me. Well, you've been reading it, so you read it. So how did you read it?
No, teacher, I'm describing the taboo word.
Sorry, I don't understand. So,
Okay.
You mean the page about taboo words?
No, teacher.
No.
My taboo word was blurred by.
Blurred. Yeah.
Yes. So I was saying that when you can see when you cannot see the screen share, you say.
Oh, okay. I'm with you now. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So your word means that you can't. Well, actually, it doesn't really mean you can't see it. You know, if something is blurred by something, it's not invisible. It's just the edges are not so clear. So that's the kind of thing when you look out of the car window and you see the trees going past the window. You can't really see the trees. You just see, and you can't see the buildings when they're very close to the car on the side of the road, and the car is going quite quickly. Everything is a blur. So things can be a blur because of speed, and they can be a blur because there's smoke or something else in the way moving around. Maybe you're looking through the leaves of trees which are blowing in the wind, and something is moving, and very quickly you can't see it properly. That's a blur. If it's hidden behind something and you can't see it at all, for example, you want to see the moon. You look up at the moon and you see the moon is really very clear. There's a full moon, and you call your friend over to look and say, hey, look at the full moon, it's wonderful, you can see the full moon so bright in the sky. But as they come to look, some great big dark clouds come over and cover the moon. What word can be used to say that you can't see the moon? Is it blurred? Blurred by it's not blurred by clouds. Blurred by clouds is not good. That's not good. Not blurred. So what is it? The clouds cover it and you can't see the moon. You know, when the camera was first invented, they used a word, the camera, blah blah, another word, and camera was later used alone, just the word camera, and now we say cam. But a long time ago there was another word which means shut out the light, and you shut the light out, but there's an O word. Do you know an O word? And if there's a word in English, which is very, very little used.
Obscure?
Obscured, yes. Obscured by clouds. That's right, that's one word. Covered by the clouds, obscured by the clouds. And so blurred is not the same. Blurred is because of being unable to focus your eyes properly, or it could be because of the quick movement of that thing. Right, so Conrad, let's move on. Sir Henry Baskerville. So this is not Hugo. This is not Hugo. Hugo is dead and gone. We're back in modern times now.
Okay.
So exactly,
my body has remained in this armchair and has, I regret to observe, consumed in my absence 2 large pots of coffee and an incredible amount of tobacco. After you left, I sent down to Stamford's for the ordnance map of his portion of the moor, and my spirit has hovered over it all day. I flatter myself that I could find my way about.
So, tell me in your words what Sherlock Holmes has been doing all of this time at night with the cigarettes and the tobacco, the coffee, keeping him awake. What has he tried to do?
Ordnance map?
An ordnance map is kind of Ordnance is a company that make maps, and there's a kind of ordnance survey. It's a kind of map. Basically, it's just a map. A detailed map with kinds of all of the layout of the geography.
Oh, yeah.
The contours of the hills. So I flatter myself that I could find my way about. What does that mean? I could find my way about.
The solution of the problem?
He's thinking not so much about the solution of the problem, but he's thinking specifically about the geography of that area.
Oh.
So what has he been doing? At night, he has been studying the moor so that he could be up on the moor at night. So just by looking at some paper maps and studying them for hours, he's committed them to his mind, so he will go up on the moors at night. Okay, so I hope you can come back and read some more. It would be great if we could read a bit more, and I shall put the sound into this because I have all of the sound reading, but at the moment I'm moving it to another place and the files are not uploaded, so I will. But you can see the whole book actually, and then I'm going to go away now and do another lesson. So I'm going to put the whole book on the internet here.
Well,
And here is the link in the verbling chat, so you can see the whole book. And but I shall put more and more of it up. At the moment, there's just 3 chapters, and I'm uploading the sound files and everything. Soon I'll have the whole book up there, and then you can listen to the whole book and be prepared for what's coming next. So Selma, I hope you can come. I know people can't always come to the same lessons again and again because we all have things to do, but I look forward to you coming if possible.
Okay, teacher.
Great. Anyway, thanks a lot, both of you. Good of you to both drop in for this. I know it's heavy going, this one, but I think it's worthwhile. I think it's a good book to read, and you can learn some things, some words. So see you again. See you soon. Bye for now.
bye-bye.